You were born rowdy?
I was born rowdy.
And then I got called into sub, so.
Pardon?
And then I go sub. I got this school
Oh,
call.
really?
Yeah, sick teacher. I'm like, well, I'll get there when I get there.
Well, we'll call a meeting to order February 9th, 10 o'clock. Have a roll call.
McGinnis?
Yeah,
Persley?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Curtis?
Yes. Approve the agenda.
I'll
Does
move.
everybody have it? Okay. Public comments.
Oh,
Second.
Dan, you got a second? To approve the agenda? I mean, Ernie can, but it's better if you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
No public comments.
Do you want to do a voice vote for the agenda?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Want a voice vote to approve the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comments? Okay, planning and zoning report. Do we have one? Oh, this is it here, right?
So, you want me to read it, or we just
Yeah,
read it?
go ahead and
Okay.
read it. Read it.
January building permit fees for fiscal 18, $643. Fiscal 17, $250. So it looks like there's an increase. So obviously the total receipts $643 versus $250 from previous fiscal. Building permits issued during January 2018, 5. 2 are agriculture, 3 are residential. And the total for fiscal 2018 are 8, 6 residential and 2 agriculture. There were 9 building inspections in the month of January, and doesn't look like there was a ZBA. So, and then the next couple pages are just the claims to the inspectors, totaling $715.
Is this them here?
Yeah. Do you want to see the, Dan?
Pardon?
The inspector
No, I
claims? Okay. And then the last page looks like it probably deals with the next, the discussion on acreage requirements, because that's what it looks like. A1, 75 acres, A2, 37, R1, so that looks like it's for the next item on the agenda.
Where do you see that at?
The last page of this report.
Oh, okay.
Looks like Bob probably threw it all together. I mean, that's...
Oh, okay.
That's what it is.
I just now found the
Yeah,
page.
yeah. No,
Okay.
you're fine. That's what it appears to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks like that's the zoning requirements if you want to build a house without having to go through ZBA. So, I know Dan, when Dan called me, when he said he wasn't going to be there, I said, well, what was your point on the discussion on acreage? Just from the last meeting, someone brought it up, and he said that what he would like to see is a look at the homesteads or the farms where there used to be a home, but it's maybe got torn down, it's been a year, but the farmer doesn't farm that should be looked at first as far as making that easier to rebuild on versus changing the acreage requirements. Basically, it's a site that a resident used to live, so that's what he told me to relay to the committee to think about. Because, he said we don't need
Which
subdivisions come in and all that,
Yeah,
but
that's a good idea, yeah.
so something to chew on, I guess, for next month, as far as
All right.
maybe we look at that. But that was Dan's 2 cents.
All righty. We're down to claims, I guess.
Which I'll move to recommend the county board pay the claims.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Curtis?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Persley?
old business?
I've got some issues I'd like to talk about.
New business?
Pardon?
New business or old business?
Old business.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, all I've heard for the past 2 years, Iroquois County doesn't have any money to do stuff with. Take care of those old buildings that are west of Loda, 3 or 4 miles out. No money to fix it. Same way around with the rest of the county.
The nuisance ones.
I've got this investigation and I'm not real sure what it's about county assessment. And there was a house at Lake Iroquois. About a $300,000 house. It's not been on the tax books for 5 years. Never got to the tax books. And these people, probably, if they would have been paying for their taxes, they would be paying somewhere between $35,000 to $40,000, $30,000 to $40,000. Iroquois County missed out on. The tax assessor for our area, John, you got a copy of this. The tax assessor is now have it on the books. It had no final inspection, this house. As I understand it, people are not supposed to move into their homes without a final inspection in Iroquois County. I don't know what it's like in Livingston or Champaign or Kankakee. I don't know. Number one, where do they get the permit? Well, first of all, they get the permit at the planning and zoning. Once they get their permit, they get all instructions on what's supposed to be done. The foundation needs to be inspected. Electricity needs to be inspected. Plumbing needs to be inspected. Roofs, ceiling joists for wind damage. There's all kinds of inspections. As you can see, all the inspectors put in for their pay and mileage. What needs to be done? If there needs to be, and I don't know where this gentleman's at today, is there an oversight committee to make sure these inspections are all taken care of? Can you answer that?
I have no idea.
I don't,
Huh?
I have no idea.
John, can you answer that?
Inspections are made when the homeowner or the contractor requests them to be.
Say that again, speak up.
Inspections are made when the homeowner or the contractor requests them.
So, we don't have any oversight committee to make sure that gets done.
that would be under us, I would say, based on the report.
Anyway, this happened about 6-8 years ago. There was 5 homes at Lake Iroquois.
I see the,
Excuse me?
I just want to see the text thing while you're talking.
5 or 6 homes, maybe more than that, weren't on the tax books. Never got reported of the final inspection. Anyway, there needs to be some sort of an oversight committee or some sort of a procedure put in place that these new homes or additions to new homes get all the inspections that need to be done. Can I have a little feedback from you or you about this? What do you think?
Well, yeah, definitely, we want them on the tax roll, but I mean, where that falls at, I don't know. I know when I built one down there, they had electrical inspector, and they had a plumbing inspector, and I presume they came back here and put in a report, and where it went through after that, I have no idea.
You didn't call for any of them, did you?
Well, that's
Yeah,
just,
you do.
yeah, when you get a building permit, and they'll extend your building permit. I didn't get done in my time period, but they just extended it automatically, gave me another.
But you called for final inspection yourself.
No, I didn't call for an inspection.
Well,
And
I built a house down there too.
And I don't know if it was the electrician or the plumber or who had to come back here and turn it in.
somebody needs to be responsible. Now these,
Well, my question is, how did the Loda Township guy find it? Because I know when we were doing our addition, Carl was out there, once he knew there was a permit issued, the assessor showed up and, gave us a packet of
well, the
forms.
assessor was doing his job.
Okay.
Finally.
He was
Fine,
doing his
so,
job and he was
so
in their
part of it is the assessors, and this is one of the complaints that I've heard when I was inquiring, some of it's, the assessors are supposed to actually pay attention to. I mean, if they see a permit is issued, they're supposed to pay attention to that process so they can
I
make sure it
don't
gets
know
passed.
how they can,
Well,
as many
Carl-
new buildings and additions that are going on, and they have a amount of inspections and re-inspection and re-evaluating. They've got so many a month, and they can only do, an inspector can only do so many a week.
Well,
There's just not enough time in a week.
what happens is you call the inspector and then you call Bob or the zoning office, and then the inspector calls you to set the time for them to come out. And then like with the county, with the assessor, like for, by us, it's Carl Sparrenberg. I mean, he showed up because he knew from the permit thing, and maybe it's a new thing that has been implemented recently, but he was already out there. So, and I know he pays attention, and from what I've learned too, part of it's the assessors as they drive around, maybe to and fro, just to kind of pay attention to things. And part of their job is to actually visit some of the parcels to make sure that it is assessed properly.
Yeah.
And that's probably, is that what happened here? The assessor just went out to visit?
Well, he was doing his job.
Yeah.
He was
Yes,
assessing so many.
So that is what has to happen.
How many assessors they have? Different districts or what?
They're all
I think
elected.
we've got a lady in our
Yeah,
area.
yeah, they're all elected, that's their job.
Appointed or elected?
They used to be appointed, but I think they're all elected now.
I thought they were appointed, I didn't know.
I know some areas don't have one, I mean, because there's
You know why?
specific
You know why they
requirements.
don't have one?
Someone's got,
Chad?
there's requirements, so.
Nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
The requirements, they have to go to school and learn, and pass some sort of a written, they've got to go to school and that comes out of their own pocket. So you may end up one of these days with no assessors.
Yeah, well,
Then we've got another problem
Yeah.
to just solve. But I think we need I think it needs to come out of not the tax area, but the
The inspection stuff falls on us to inquire from Bob, how many outstanding inspections are needed or whatever. And the other question is, we have to make sure, is this just a fluke or is it, or is there
I
more?
doubt. I'm gonna,
Well,
I'm
that's
gonna
where
go front with that one.
the assessor, needs, part of it is they have to find more.
Well, one of my
Because
goals.
it wouldn't surprise me if, in the grand scheme, this doesn't surprise me that it happens. The question is how often.
That is a good question.
I
How
thought when
often?
you build a house, there was like 3 stages they
Yeah.
went through.
Yeah.
So much when it's framed up. and
Yeah, they
so much-
want to see foundation, and then they want to see
It's
all
all-
the rough in,
when
and
you-
then when it's all done, then Bates comes out, Mr. Brown and Mr.
When you,
And they should turn those papers in.
They do.
If
They do.
You know, that,
Because they give you a sticker,
yeah.
too.
It's all pointed, it's all plain, and when you buy your building permit, which items need to be inspected. And what you're supposed to show your building permit so
And,
the people
Yeah.
can see that.
yeah, and it's there.
There's some homes that, and buildings
Now-
that are built without building permits.
The other question that we have to be careful is not to assume that the homeowner or whoever built the house failed to call for an inspection. I mean, I presume all of our paperwork's always done right, but, you know, we do make mistakes, and could Bates or
Well, yeah,
the final inspector just forget to, you know, lose it or forget to turn it in? And at this point, who keeps their
Yeah.
permit with all the stickers once you...
You'd think the last inspection would be turned in to Bob's office.
Yeah.
If it's completed.
And did it, I'm not saying that it's stuff, I mean, make sure it wasn't misplaced, because but there needs to be some follow-up.
I can make a few comments if you'd like.
So what do you think? There would be an oversight, or there should be someone responsible in the planning and zoning department that makes sure these final inspections take place?
I'm listening.
I think this particular case right here is one that, yes, there are probably other similar cases that have occurred in the county. I think there's numerous examples of people who are trying to skirt the law. You're always going to have that. I guess one question that you could ask, well, let me back up. This particular incident happened under a former zoning administrator. It did not happen under the current one.
That is correct.
I think that before any action or decisions are made, the current zoning administrator should be present and make comments and tell us exactly what the procedures are right now and so forth. I think it's also significant when you talk about lost revenue. Yes, that's a significant amount of money, but where does that money go? 85% of it goes to the schools.
Well, I don't know, it's 75%.
Well, it's
Why
still-
aren't the schools concerned about matters like this?
That's our job, it ain't the school's job, for crying out loud.
I agree with John that I think, because this was under the old one and just my recent experience, I mean, Carl showed up, you know, before, even during our addition phase. I mean, he came out because he knew there was a permit issued, and so he explained and he asked questions like, "Are you a veteran?" and you know, and then he explained like the homestead stuff, and he wrote everything, and you know, and then the process. Then a little bit later, you get a letter that says this is what the increase will be in your tax. So, like John was saying, I think Bob needs to be here because I think there's something in place because Carl showed up.
Yeah.
You know, the assessor.
Yeah, there was a
Before
breakdown.
it's done.
There was a breakdown.
Before everything was finished. I mean, this was over the summer.
Well,
So I would like to know if that's a normal occurrence now, where where Bob is telling the assessors, hey, permit issued, you know, or maybe that's just rare that Carl's just on top of things. I don't know.
Bob's not here to
No, he has to go pick up. No, Bob, I don't think did anything wrong. Bob didn't do anything wrong with this. Bob wasn't on, you know, it was Gloria, if I remember
Gloria
right.
Schlafe was the zoning
Yeah,
administrator.
so this-
Your was in the office.
He wasn't the administrator. He was not the one in charge. He was not the
Oh,
one in charge.
the gal was.
Yes.
You're right,
He's not the one in charge. He's now. And so I would like to know if it's normal routine now when permits are issued that he notifies the assessor, because I think he does, because Carl knew. Carl had, you know, like, I know here's the schematic. He had the permit paperwork. So either my assessor's just on top of things and pays attention to his assessment area and comes in and checks, or Bob is being proactive and telling them. And then, so we need to hear from Bob what his process is now, because if that's the case, if the new process is telling them, then we have something in place where the assessors know and they're paying attention. Because the tax paperwork was already being done, you know, how it's all going to be before everything was done. I mean, so that's the question to ask for Carl. But yes, is this an issue? Yes. And hopefully the assessors, when they drive around, when they go shopping, when they go places, that they just keep an eye, just like Mr. Iman does for the health department. You know, when he drives out to do the inspection for a permit or whatever, he'll drive one way, and I know he goes a different way, and he's just looking as he's driving back to the office. You know, he's just keeping an eye out. Is there something being built? Is there something, or a health issue? And
yeah, and when that assessor was in that area, he or she should have caught that.
So we need to know from Bob what the current process is now before we create something new.
That's why.
So, yeah, Bob's not here. So, because I'm kind of curious if the new process, like I said, not to beat a dead horse, if it is now that he tells the assessors, that helps solve the problem so that they make sure stuff gets on the books.
Another issue is you can't collect back taxes on this.
Yeah, and not,
There's no back taxes can be collected because
yeah.
the county failed to do its job.
So, yeah, and it does fall on us, the planning and zoning, at that time to make sure that there's some oversight. So, I think we just need to ask Bob what's the process now. I think the simple solution is make sure all the assessors know. And if they're proactive, they'll do what Carl does and just go out and do the measurements and see where it's at and you know, start the assessment before it's even done. This way it's there.
When do we get Bob informed about all of this?
We have to do it next month. So, well, the assessment's fixing that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not kicking. It's the assessment's done. I mean, they caught it. So at least now they can go back for 2017 or whatever the rule is.
I think something ought to be in place that these homeowners ought to be responsible to pay the back taxes.
That might be a state law. That might be something that has to be worked through Tom Bennett's office.
That's true.
So
I think you can, but it has to go through the court system, and it's a lengthy process.
Yeah.
And your chances of success are very small.
yeah, because the courts are going to look at probably the burden in the air and was it the homeowner's true intent? You know, it could have been whoever built their home is the one that probably is. If they had a contractor, the contractor is the one that's ultimately responsible to make sure everything passes. And I know when we built our house, before we're at the one I'm at now, when we went to do the final closing, the mortgage, the bank and the title company required the occupancy permit as part of before it would close. So how it snuck through the whole, maybe they pay cash. I don't know, but most people don't, but maybe they did. But, because I built in 2007 and the title company required the occupancy permit before they would put the final stamp. And I know it took, once Mr. Bates Brown came out, you know, and did it, we had to wait for the actual issuance. So there's some places and some different ways to catch it. It's just, yeah, that one slipped.
Mr. Yerger will also tell you that he catches numerous people every year who have done things and they're not on the tax rolls. I mean, it's
always
a never-ending job, and there really is no complete answer. Like I said earlier, people are scheming and finding ways to skirt the law. I mean, that exists in every area of the law.
And then there are some...
People speed down the highway going faster than the speed limit.
Yeah, and then you wonder too, well, if they're a good citizen, why didn't they come in here and say, hey, I don't get no tax bill and I want it? You would think they would.
That's where I'm thinking.
But they're also thinking, hey, if I can get by with it.
Yeah, and well, if they have a mortgage and the mortgage company did an escrow estimate, because that is part of when they do it, you know, they probably think, oh, I get check back. So, but yeah, at some point you have to know.
Yeah, right.
You have people erecting
That's
pole
why
buildings.
I think we need a backstop on this.
And you have people erecting pole buildings in the county, and then for maybe $50,000 and then building a $400,000 home inside of it that nobody ever sees and nobody ever gets taxed for it.
You know the law on
That's
that?
Harry sees it driving by.
What?
You know the law on that?
We had an awful
I
soldier
know the
that
law on
did that.
that?
Yeah. You know the state law or county law? There's several in my county that I know of personally.
That have done that.
Huh?
There's people that have done that.
Yes,
No, there's,
I know 2 of them.
okay.
I don't know if they got away with it or not. Excuse me, one's in Iroquois County, one's in Ford County.
Okay, well, and you know about people are doing that, they're just doing that to skirt the law. So they don't have to pay taxes.
Oh, absolutely.
One
You know,
of-
you can have a pole building and that not be taxable.
It's taxable, it's how it's developed, because
Not if it's
if
on
it's
gravel
agriculture,
or on skids.
well, no, mine was taxed.
Was it on
gravel.
skids?
Nope, gravel, sunk in the ground, it was taxed. So, but if I put, this was back in '07, but if I would put a concrete floor, then it would be taxed differently. But it was just gravel, I couldn't afford concrete at the time.
And you know, if they're on skids, they don't get taxed at all.
No, because it's mobile. But if it's
That's my
anchored,
second issue.
is this the one I just read?
Nope.
Okay.
You know these big billboards along I-57? You see them going down I-57, the great big steel billboards? They're not being taxed in Iroquois County. And I've talked to Bob about this before. According to the state of Illinois, they can be taxed.
So you have an assessor doing their job.
So,
So, but what we need to know is what Bob's
what we
responsible.
need to do is convince Yergler that these should go on the tax bill.
Well, the assessor puts it on the, I mean,
And the landowner that has them on there is making a lot of money off of those.
and it's the billboard people usually that pay the, just like cell phone
Now,
towers.
I don't know what Kankakee County does along 57, nor do I know what Champaign County is doing along 57, or any of the other counties along 57. But I'm going to contact the state of Illinois next week about this issue and see what can be done about it. And my other goal next week is to let our tax assessor know how many homes that are 5 to 6 years old in Lake Iroquois that are on the tax books. There may be none, and there may be 5 or 6. Who knows? But I think Iroquois County needs these properties taxed accordingly to the way the rest of us pay taxes on real estate. Agree?
Doesn't the local assessor have that information for you?
Pardon?
Doesn't the local assessor have that information?
Hell no, I didn't have
That's
any
his job.
information on this.
Well, the assessor, that's the assessor's job. They have their township, and they should know, as they drive through a neighborhood, they have their plat book, and they have everything. They should know, yes, that's on the roll, that no, that's not. The assessor, I mean, that's, part of it is working with the assessor to say, okay, did you go through Lake Iroquois and make sure all those properties are on the books?
That's what my goal is.
Yeah, your best results will be working with, I guess it would be Tom, oh, that's the supervisor.
He's the supervisor.
But still, he's supervisor of the township, it's his responsibility too. So I would work with them to go and make sure, because the assessor has all the records. I mean, this way you
How
can,
often do they assess property?
I think whenever they,
Every 3 years or 4 years? Or?
I don't know what the law is, there's a, part of it's their job to make sure, you know,
Yeah, I
they
mean, yeah,
audit, part of it, I think
right.
they have to look at, and when was the last time, and
And
if I don't know
you
what the
would
law
think that when
is.
they walk block to block and they couldn't find that house, that they say, you know, there's something.
I know Carl is good, because
Yeah, Carl was.
he's good, I mean, because he shows up.
Yeah, he was a nice person.
Yeah.
They're supposed to do so many a week, according to the state of Illinois.
But like you said, I think it's hard for them to find us since there's, I know we were without one, was it in our district or someplace, for quite a while.
So the law here, the classification of billboards, so we need to look at our billboard ordinance. From the Department of Revenue, this is the letter that Rep. Bennett. The Department of Revenue does not have an official position on the subject of taxing billboards, nor are there guidelines. Statutory law is absent regarding the assessment status of billboards, which will have to be fact-driven and specific to individual counties. And they closed the letter saying, in summary, the classification of billboards is a county-by-county decision that must be established based on statute. So, Bob, if our county ordinance does not have billboards classified as real property for taxing, Bob may not be able to put them on the tax thing. And the Loda Township wants them on there. And so we have to look at what our ordinance says, what the zoning ordinance says about billboards, and then dig into this. But there's absent, and it's driven based on the 1979 law of like kind and how it's classified. And state statute is absent on if a billboard is personal property or not. And so we have to look at our ordinance. So go dig out the ordinance on billboards and our zoning, and we have to work from there. If what you're trying to say is I want billboards to be taxed as real property, then we gotta look at what our, and you can't blame Bob if Bob's saying no, I'm not putting it on there. And I can't speak for him, but if it's based on the fact that the county ordinance doesn't.
I wish he was here,
Yeah,
actually.
but if our county ordinance does not specifically state that it's real property, then he can't put it on there. And so from this, it looks like the assessment, the township is asking us to deal with the issue. So we have to look at our ordinance. We have to look at how we define what billboards are from our ordinance, and then we have to get with Mr. Devine to make sure that how we define it does comply. But Department of Revenue isn't from this letter dated September 22nd, 2016, they're not making a determination on whether it's real. They're leaving it up to each county.
One of my questions I thought was,
Because
what's
it's not
the
like
difference between a billboard and a windmill?
it's windmills addressed in statute. Billboard is not, according to that letter, because they mentioned wind towers and cell towers, that those are addressed in statute. Billboards are not addressed as far as is it real property or not. So it's gray, and they're leaving up to each county to decide what they want to do as far as taxing that. So, Loda Township sees potential to generate some revenue for their township, and state law doesn't specify it, and so they're making a request to us to look at it. So we got to look at our ordinance. Our ordinance says yes, they are to be taxed, or yes, they are real property. Then that will give some weight. So we got to look at our ordinance.
Determine whether it's real property or personal property.
Yeah, and we have to look at our ordinance. That's what the Department of Revenue is saying. The statute is absent, and like their closing statement, classification of billboards is a county-by-county decision that must be established based on statute, case law, and prior treatment. So that's what we have to look at.
So it could be different in Champaign County than it is in Iroquois County.
Yes. So my recommendation to help gather information is maybe find out if Champaign does tax billboards. Get a copy of how their ordinance is written. maybe, I'm sure Cook County does everything. I mean, that's online, that's probably easy. And then compare it, but we have to go look at our ordinance and reclassify it. So that's a request, but we have to do some more digging. And yes, the assessor probably, and he may know of other counties. So they'll say, okay, you're basing this 14, you're basing that the value is 14,000, what are you basing it on? And state statute is absent, so help us draft an ordinance. And then that just goes to, the committee and the board to decide, do we want to tax it?
That's the key right there. Do we want to?
But before we can do anything, we
There
have to
can
have.
be a lot of bad implications from doing that.
So
There can be a lot of bad implications from doing that.
he said there could be a lot of bad implications. So
Give me an example.
Well, if I could put a billboard up in Ford County and it doesn't get taxed, and I put one up 100 feet to the north in Iroquois County, it is, where am I going to put it up?
the landowner can make.
And the landowner is going to complain. Complain that, hey, you're affecting my income. You're also going to affect businesses in the county that want to advertise along the road. We want to encourage that.
Yeah. So
You got to consider a lot of things before you go ahead and
And
do something.
that's
I'm
really-
not saying you shouldn't do it.
You're right about that.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but you need to consider those things before you.
That is a
before
consideration,
anything
but there's a right and a wrong.
well, no, and here there isn't, because the Department of Revenue says it's county by county. It's up to the county. It's not. They're not saying we're violating state statute by not taxing billboards. So there isn't a right or wrong in this. It's more of direction of the county, and do we want to create an ordinance that will pass, state law that will tax billboards? And so it's more a question of, is this an area that we see as a potential to generate revenue? Loda Township obviously sees that, and that's what they want, but do we want that county-wide? Because there isn't a right or wrong. I mean, the Department of Revenue left it ambiguous, saying, we're not touching it. It's up to each county to decide if they want to or not.
Oh, that's,
So what you're bringing up is, does Iroquois County want to pursue this? But before we can even do that, we need to look at established ordinance, and if our established ordinance already answered that question, we need to enforce it. And it could be, I don't know. So we got to look at it. And so that's the question.
that's the way I kind of
So-
got it too. It's okay to tax it, but it's it's okay not to.
Yes, but we can't if we don't have it written into our code that we can. We can't just go tax them. We can't. And that's what
It
they're.
has to be determined whether it's personal property
Or real.
or real.
And then
Once
it
that's
has,
established,
then our county code has to say yes, because the property, like you said, the 1979 property, the tax thing does not address billboards. And then he mentioned that whoever wrote the letter cited when, is mentioned. That's a specific statute on how you tax it. The solar stuff, they're generating the statute on how you assess solar, specifically because they're going to be coming in. So they're looking at the current assessments, like the Streeter one, and then do we need to assess it different? There's nothing that discusses billboards per the Department of Revenue. It's a county by county. So check with Champaign County, look on Cook County's website. Maybe they have an ordinance on how they legally tax billboards. Have Loda Township do some of that legwork. They want it. Have them help us. Present other counties that do it. And then it's up to the committee and then ultimately the full board to decide, is this what we want to do in light of all the pros and cons, such as if we start taxing it, now business owners that were putting a billboard up, now their property tax just went up. Could that force them to close? Because they're talking $14,000 for that. Or do we define it? Billboards along I-57, like what you have pictured. So we have to define what are we calling a billboard. So we have, and I don't think our code has ordinances necessarily. We have ordinances in it talk about signs and structure, but so we have to do. It's not a solution that will happen in the next meeting, because the next meeting, evidence and examples need to be presented so we can actually chew on it. And then we really need to talk to business owners and find out the ramifications of what this will do to the normal everyday business owner that's not a billboard person, like
The
the
billboards
picture.
down by Lola reflect businesses from
Yes,
Champaign.
but if we write an ordinance that says billboards, okay, now, Pilot, they have the gas station, they have a big billboard. Granted, it's on their property, it's a billboard. So, yeah, I hear you. We have to get some other examples.
Well,
And
I
have no
agree,
problem
I
looking
agree
at it.
with John too. If, I know when I'm traveling, if I see a McDonald's sign, I come like, hey, McDonald's sign, you wanna stop? Well, when I stop at that area, I'm bringing revenue in that
Yeah.
area, probably more than you could ever get off a
Yeah.
tax on a sign.
Well, they're talking, I forget how many pictures, but the assessor says 14,000 in property, in tax. So I don't know how many signs, but first place is look at our ordinance, Dan. Look at our zoning ordinance and look at the county and see how stuff's defined, and then we'll go from there. So,
Okay, well, let's move on to,
Thank you.
new business.
thank you though, because the stuff we do need to look at.
New business? Meeting to adjourn?
I move.
I'll second.
We're done.